welcome back to the channel. Today we are discussing 30 and single, honey. If you are a 1992 baby, you are probably turning 30 this year. And if you're single, darling, we are jumping right into it. We are unpacking everything, okay? Now, most of you are probably nervous. Some of you are probably anxious. Some of you are wondering, oh my goodness, when am I going to get married? Others of you are thinking, I just wish it was easy to find a man. And some of you are probably thinking, you know what? All the good men are taken, or they don't make them like they used to. I've given up. I'm not interested in a man. But I'm going to be giving you my take and my journey into the conversation even makes me a little bit nervous, but I'm giving you my take into my journey into acceptance, my journey into loving myself. So let's jump right in. I can't believe it. I'm turning 30. I'm single. I've been celibate since 2016 and I'm at my absolute happiest. Can you believe it? If somebody would have told me like the secret of spending time on yourself, I would have been a little bit less worried. When I was in my 20s, I used to panic. My idea was that, listen, I want kids when I'm young. I don't want to be old and running after my children. And I definitely want to enjoy my marriage when I'm still young and supple, you know. The girls are still perky. The stomach is still flat. Nothing is swing low, sweet chariot, you know. Everything is just on point. I meet my man and we get to grow old together. But guess what? I've had the privilege of getting to know myself and I am so absolutely grateful. Now, it's taken me a long time to get to this point, but one thing that I'm really grateful for is that I know myself. I have gotten to really know who this girl is, how to love her, how to take care of her, how to nourish her, how to encourage her, how to show up and be there for this girl because she is my best friend. She is my number one priority. She is the one that I have to make sure before anybody else that she is good. And I had to learn to do that. One thing that nobody tells you is that us women are accustomed to putting men first. I really don't care what culture you come from. I don't care what race you are. The fact is, patriarchy has been around for a really, really, really long time. And the fact that a lot of women panic when they're reaching their late 20s and they start panicking about getting a partner and getting old and starting to feel like, oh no, now the guys my age are going to be looking at younger girls. That is just a sign that we are still mentally conditioned to center the way we plan our lives around men. Now, my 20s, honey, we had fun. We had so much fun and we paid for the consequences. I had a lot of fun in my early 20s. I partied like crazy. I drank like a fish, but I think I was still a little bit responsible because I managed to get through college. Man, I was just, ooh, I mean, I wasn't as crazy as I make it sound, but I really let go and I enjoyed myself. I was sexually inquisitive. Now, don't come for me. We are 30, okay? Some of you watching this, you probably know me from church or you've been to church with me or whatever. Like, I'm not about pretending that I'm perfect, okay? So let's just put everything on the table. I had a lot of fun. I was sexually inquisitive. I dated. Sometimes I wasn't dating, but I was definitely, hungry. The kitty was hungry and the kitty had to eat. And when the kitty is hungry, honey, you're not concerned if you're having gourmet or you're having McDonald's. So I definitely had a lot of junk food. And by the time I hit 24, I was like, pause. You know what? Actually, I don't want to do this anymore. Um, so I think I would say that I had 6 good years of experiencing different types of men, experiencing different types of relationships, and one thing that I can say I've experienced from a lot of the relationships that I've had is that I have never been protected by a man, honey. Outside of my dad, who was incredibly, incredibly overprotective over me, I've never experienced a man's protection in a relationship while dating. And I was really just highly disrespected, taken for granted, and not seen, because anybody who can truly see me and truly perceive me, if God gives you the grace to perceive me, you will never let me go. So if you let me go, if you treat me badly, if you disrespect me, if you lie to me, I know that you don't see my inner being. And with that being said, it's deuces goodbye. I need to take a sip of coffee because this segment is piping hot, honey. Mm. That caffeine, baby, we need it. So by the time I hit 24, I was like, pause, you know what? Um, and I remember it was the 5th of October, 2016. And I was like, no, I'm done. The bank is closed for business. You know, I'm not cashing any checks and I'm not giving out any checks. Okay? It's time to take inventory. And that's how my journey started. So I suppose my 20s are split in two. My early 20s, where I was unhinged, where I was just experiencing life, enjoying myself, and my late 20s, where I was like, you know what, let me be a little bit bound. Let me focus on myself. Let me get to know myself and let me grow. Okay. What is the hardest thing about celibacy? For me, honestly, um it wasn't even like being intimate with someone sexually. It was not being held. That was the hardest thing in the world. Like starving myself of that affection of just being held while I fall asleep, just having someone to hold me when I'm falling asleep. And even if he's not a protector, just having the illusion of safety, darling. But once I got over that, I really started to realize, like, wow, I'm not thinking about anybody right now. I only get to think about myself. I'm not taking care of anybody. I only get to take care of myself. Um, and the fact that I've managed to do it and I've reached 30 and I am now still single. I don't have anything holding me back. Literally, I could leave the country right now and just decide to go abroad and travel the world or get another job overseas. And at some point, I realized, wow, there is no time in the history of civilization where a woman in her 30s has had the freedom that we do when you're single. There is no time. In the past, you would either still be living with your parents, you would be a mockery. Society would be thinking, oh my goodness, she's just a burden, because you wouldn't have the right to work. You wouldn't have the right to earn an income. You wouldn't have right to financial freedom. And you would definitely feel the burden of not being in a relationship. But I'm starting to realize that getting older and being single is a blessing. Enjoy your life, experience everything, travel, start a business, make new friends, get rid of friends that are not good for you or that don't align with. I won't necessarily say not good for you, because sometimes it's a season and the people that you're surrounded by don't align with your season, and you don't have to hold on to anybody. It's such an absolute blessing. If you are 30 and single, I want you to tap into the blessing of the freedom that you have right now, and stop playing those mental stories that go in a loop that tell you, oh my goodness, you're never going to find anybody. Oh my goodness, everybody else is getting married. Oh, she just got a boyfriend. When are you getting your boyfriend? Oh my goodness, she's not married, but she had a child. Am I even going to be able to have a child? Get rid of it. Throw it out the back door, honey. It's time to do a cleanse of your life. Clean up the thoughts that don't align with where you want to go, and have the vision of what you want and where you want to go, and focus on that. You have the time, baby. I had to learn to fall in love with myself. And I'm so glad that I did. Listen, I won't even say from my early 20s, I'll say from primary school, I was so in need of acceptance. I was so in need of love. I desired it so much that I had friends that would walk all over me. I had friends that would just decide. I had one friend throughout primary school, girl, if you're watching, you know who you are. Throughout primary school, literally, I met this girl in grade 2. Guys, she would just decide that she doesn't want to talk to me, and she'll just ignore me for about 2 weeks, a week, 3 weeks at the most. And when she decides she's over whatever it is that she was mad at me for, she would come back and we would be friends, and we wouldn't even discuss it, boo. We wouldn't. It was, I would just be like, oh my goodness, my friend is back, yay, kumbaya, you know? And that type of mentality really followed me into my teenage life. It really followed me into my 20s, where I placed so much value on the relationships outside of me that I neglected the relationship that I had inside with myself. And for me, honestly, I'm even thinking to myself, well, right now, I certainly have like a few friends, like a small circle of friends. And I think to myself, you know what? Even if I were to reach 40, 45, 50, and I was single, as long as my relationship with myself is intact, I will be just fine. And I will have joy dancing all around me, all over me. I will, because I have so much fun when I'm on my own. I've learned to love myself. And I've realized I'm such an incredible human being. Like, I get overwhelmed with myself, literally. When I play music, I'm in my apartment, I'm dancing, I'm singing on top of my voice. And usually when I have people around me and I'm singing, they're like, shut up, you're making noise. Shut up, your voice is not that great. But when I'm on my own and I'm enjoying myself and I'm unbound, I really absolutely love it. So enjoy your own company. Get to know what you really love. Do you love to sing? Do you love to dance? Do you love to paint? Do you love collecting records? There's Miss Nina in the background. Do you love, some people collect Barbie dolls. It's absolutely fine. Whatever it is that you love to do it when you're on your own, because there's no judgment. When I started going to therapy, and I had a housemate at the time, and I really did enjoy staying with her, but I had this thing inside of me that was just telling me that no, Chifu, you need to live alone. And when I spoke to my therapist about it, she was like, Chifu, you need to be able to wake up and have a slice of cake for breakfast without judgment if you want to. You need to be able to walk around your apartment naked if you want to. You need to be able to do whatever it is that you want to do in your own space, on your own time, and be just with you without anyone judging you, and fall absolutely deeply, madly in love with yourself. So here I am, and we're oozing love. I need another sip. Listen, I love coffee. Now, the beautiful thing about having your late 20s, your early 30s, even if it's into your late 30s, the beautiful thing about having that time to yourself is just turning inwards and searching your own heart and searching your inner being for the things that are inside of you that need to come out and be released. I think we underestimate how much trauma we have suppressed inside of us. And when you're surrounded by people, it's really, really difficult to self assess. You'll get to the point where you're surrounded by people all the time and you don't even have grace to apologize because you never actually take an opportunity to turn and look inside yourself and to introspect and to be able to realize when you're wrong, because perhaps you always have people around you whenever a situation arises. You get together with your girlfriends or your sisters or whatever, and you're like, hey, this is what's happening, da 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 da. And the people that are in your corner will have your back, and they're not gonna always call you out when you're wrong, you know? So that's also one of the most important things that I've realized, to be able to spend time with yourself and to get to know yourself gives you room for accountability and gives you room to be accountable for the relationships that you had that turned sour with men or with friends or whatever, and to be able to think, actually, and when I came to that point, it's really tough. It takes a lot of maturity to get to this point, because even when you realize you can't continue to beat yourself up, you need to take the next step into healing or into sorting out whatever it is that caused you to behave the way that you did. I got to the point where I was like, you know what, in all of the negative relationships that I had with men in my early 20s, I was the common denominator. So, what was it about me that attracted those people? And in all of the friendships that I had where I felt unheard, where I felt disrespected, where I felt like people were disloyal towards me, I was the common denominator. So, what was it about me that attracted those types of relationships? Now, I really believe that we all vibrate at a certain frequency, and the frequency at which you're vibrating, you're going to attract people that are vibrating at that same frequency. If you love to sit around and complain and woe is me, etc., etc., you're going to surround yourself with people that lean in and listen to you complaining, but they never lift you up, they never give you a solution, and then they also get to have their turn. Oh, girl, and this is what happened to me too. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and the dance goes on. The negative dance just goes on and on. So even in relationships with men, if you're not content with yourself, if you don't love yourself, you're gonna meet a man that's not content with himself and that doesn't love himself, and he's gonna project that onto you. Um, and I'm gonna tell you a secret. When I'm really great with myself, every Saturday without fail, I wake up in the morning, I go to a coffee shop, I take a book. Sometimes I don't take a book, I take my journal, and I sit there, I have a cup of coffee, I journal, I have a slice of cake if necessary. Sometimes I go out for dinner, I have a glass of wine, And I'm not a big drinker, so one glass knocks me out. Literally, last year I had 3 glasses of wine. Um, I have a glass of wine. I enjoy myself. I allow myself to get drunk on myself. And sometimes I can see men just looking at me like, what is that beautiful girl doing eating alone? I'm just like, I'm not alone, babes. I'm with me, myself, and I. This is a company of 3, and we enjoy each other. Um, yeah, so I encourage you guys, start dating yourself and start falling in love with yourself and get to know yourself, because even when you get into a relationship, you are going to need that relationship that you have with yourself to maintain your sanity. So I finally realized that I'm not missing anything. I'm in the right place. Um, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And um, oh gosh, like sometimes I'll just be lying in bed and something that I've been suppressing for so long will just come up, you know? And I have the blessing of being able to deal with it right now. When it comes up, I'm just like, oh my goodness, Lord, what is this? Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. I didn't realize we were suppressing this. Okay, you know, let's deal with it. And sometimes when I'm feeling low and I can't put my finger on it, I just say, Lord, I'm very spiritual. I'm incredibly spiritual. And without spirituality, honestly, I wouldn't have reached the point where I am right now. And I just say, Lord, what is it? Let's deal with it. um, I'm just honest with myself, you know? Um, and it's not easy to face myself all the time, because sometimes I like, you know, God tells me the craziest things about myself, and I'm just like, is that really me? But also, like, it never comes from a place of judgment. So I'm always grateful. So whatever it is that is grounding you spiritually, it's so important to, you know, believe in something that is greater than you, you know, something that can bring you back to the center. And for me, that's Jesus Christ, honey. We are besties. I've realized that life is a journey, and where I am right now is a season. And when it's time for my husband to come, he will find me, and he will find me confident. He will find me joyful. He will find me deeply, madly in love with myself. And because I'll be vibrating at the frequency that I'm at, I will definitely, most definitely, attract someone who feels the same about who they are, someone who's in love with themselves, someone who's confident within themselves, someone who's enjoying the journey that they're at, someone who loves their lives. And we bring both our lives that we both love, and we bring them together, and we create something new, something magical, but we still have our own kingdoms within ourselves. For me, it's kind of like, if I don't have a kingdom within myself, how do I expect to meet a king and rule over this kingdom that we're going to have together if I've never actually learned what it means to rule? So, where am I in relation to love right now? I'm happy, and I get happier every day. And um, the work is not complete, you know, this is an ongoing work, you know, it's an ongoing process that continues. But I've made a commitment to myself, and sometimes when I feel down and I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm just like, girl, remember who you are. Remember what process you're in. Remember where you're coming from. Remember the work that you've done, and remember that we're not giving up on us. Hell no. Hell to the no. Hell to the no. Hell to the no, 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 no. We're not giving up on ourselves. A husband and children will come at the right time. And keep in mind, if you are so worried about getting married young so that you can have your children young, marriage doesn't guarantee children. It really, really doesn't. I'm not trying to discourage anyone. What I'm trying to say is be realistic so that even if you are getting married young, even if you found your prince charming, you're not going in with your eyes in the stars, and when reality smacks you in the face, you're just like, what the heck is this? Or when you realize that your partner has a life and you don't have a life, you're just like, oh my goodness, he doesn't love being at home, he doesn't love spending time with me. What are you doing on your Saturday? Why aren't you having coffee with your girlfriends? Why don't you have like a book club meet with every month? You know, why don't you have a business idea? Why aren't you dreaming? There are so many things like a relationship, having a man and being in a relationship is not, it's not the bread of life, you know. It's not something that you will die without. And most women that feel like they have been so shamed, it's because they shame themselves inside. So when people come and they're like, oh, look at her, she's 40, she doesn't have a man. Oh, you already are beating yourself up inside. So you allow yourself to pay attention to that kind of thing. But when you're above that, it's like all the talk just goes under your feet, honey. And I've definitely gotten to that point where it doesn't matter what it is. If you're talking about me, I'm just like, yes, baby, I'm a hot topic. So what? Dating apps. I joined the dating app. I joined the dating app. I realized very quickly that it wasn't for me, but I will say that I met one really, really, really good friend. Um, Very level headed, very kind, wonderful man who prays for me, who asks me how I'm doing, who checks up on me. And I'm grateful for the friendship. I'm grateful that I get to see another positive version of a man, because I've had like whack examples. So I'm definitely grateful for every time I meet a good man. It doesn't have to turn into a relationship. I'm grateful because I allow myself to learn from these men, and I allow my traumas, my male pattern wounds to be healed through these friendships. So I'm really grateful. But I'll definitely say that if you're gonna go on a dating app, be convicted. Whether you are spiritual or not spiritual, be convicted to go on, because you could have a very, very negative experience. I've made peace with where I am, and where I am is a peaceful, awesome, creative, innovative place that is just filled with so much happiness and joy. I have married friends. I have friends that are dating, and I have some friends that are single. And luckily, I am surrounded by amazing women. None of the women that I'm surrounded by make me feel as if they are on a higher level than me just because they are dating or just because they are married. And for me personally, I feel like that's important, because um, sometimes a lot of women, and I'm going to be honest about this, don't get in your feelings, anybody. Um, a lot of women tend to have this sesfikile vibe when they when they just get a boyfriend. And I've had so many friends like this. As I say, my dating life has been tumultuous, and I've been surrounded by people whose dating lives have been a little bit more smooth. Even if they break up, they get into a relationship, will be for like 6 months to a year. But you know, um, when they get into a relationship, it's like, yo, sesfikile, they will leave you high and dry, you know? And then when they break up, they come back, they find that you've made new close friends, and they're on some where did our friendship go? And it's like, Girl, girl, really, girl. It's weird. Like, women are weird for me sometimes. I'm just like, yo. But yeah, and the women, the friends that I had one friend that was like, um, Chifu, sometimes I miss the time when I was living by myself. And I'm just like, what? This is when I was still struggling with being single. And it was not necessarily in the height of lockdown, but just when lockdown had been relaxed a little bit and we were allowed to see friends and stuff like that. And then I have another friend. She's a ball of energy. I absolutely love her. Whenever she visits me, she sits on the couch and like looks out the balcony and she's just like, friend, do you realize how blessed you are? Look at your view. Oh my goodness. I could just sit here forever and just enjoy myself. you know? And those friends definitely remind me that even though they are married, they still appreciate the importance of your season of singleness. And they still look back at the time when they were single with fondness. And some of them even wish that they were able to have the experience that I'm having right now when they were single, because perhaps when they were single, they had only spent maybe 6 months living alone. I mean, some people were at home during their time in university, so they don't really know what it's like to live alone. And some people really don't know what it's like to be an adult and be single, because perhaps they met their partner when they were in university, finished university, and got married very quickly. So I'm definitely grateful. I want to challenge you to start practicing gratitude and to start counting your blessings for this season that you're in, and to just know that at the right time, everything will align. And I also want you to know that it's also okay to not get married. It's fine. Nobody really says that out loud. It's okay. I mean, I feel like women now are very candid about not having children and not wanting to have children, but I suppose not so candid about not wanting to be in a relationship or not wanting to date or not wanting to ever get married. It's okay to actually not ever want to get married. I think I will say towards the end of last year, I got to the point where I was like, hmm, we would be just fine if it was just us for the rest of our time here on earth, you know? Just me, my heart, my soul, and just enjoying myself. There's so many things to do. I definitely have plenty of men that show interest in me, but at the end of the day, I want a quality man, and I'm not going to compromise just because I feel like I'm running out of time. I'm not going to settle just because I feel like, oh my goodness, I'm about to clock 30. Better cuff a man, because trust me, a woman can cuff you, man. You will think you asked her to marry you, but she knew what she was doing from the minute she set eyes on you. don't underestimate don't underestimate the cunningness of a woman. I'm not settling. That's that. And the bar is really high. I feel like the older I get, the higher the bar goes, because a lot of people will be like, oh, when you get older you drop your standards, etc., etc., etc. But the older I've gotten, the higher my standards have been. Now, there's certain things that I've realized are a little bit shallow, that I'm starting to think, actually, that's not important. This is more important, or that is more important, or this is more important. So I would definitely say that getting older has made me like really cut into the meat of what I want in a man and what I want in a relationship. For me, above all, the number one thing is a protector. And if I clock If I clock that you are not a protector, I'm done, boo boo. I may be highly, heavily, deeply infatuated with a man, but once I make up my mind that this is not it, it's done. And once it's done, I'm not coming back. No round twos. With all the work that I've done on myself, with all the therapy that I've been through, with all the self therapy as well, because by by grace, I was able to meet a wonderful, amazing therapist who is now retired, and she taught me how to self therapy because she doesn't believe in you becoming dependent on her. So I know how to, you know, conduct therapy on myself and to talk myself, walk myself through certain thought patterns, through certain seasons. And I'm also blessed in the sense that a lot of people come into my life that pour into me now. And it's crazy because once I shifted my mindset and I was like, I'm going to learn to pour back into myself, I started having friends, people, acquaintances. Sometimes I'll just bump into someone that just pours so much into me that I can stay one whole month just like digging deeper into that small conversation that I had with someone that unearths so much within me and helps me heal so many things. One thing that I also realized as I'm now reaching 30 is that I had to recognize what true love is. I had to find out what true love is from inside so that if I meet a man and what he's showing me falls short of the love that I've discovered inside of me, I'm just like, this is not it. It's a trick. I'm not falling for it. Toodles. Bye. you know, yeah. So, ladies, I want to encourage you. Some of you are probably in your late 30s, some of you are in your early 30s, some of you are in your mid 30s, and you're still single and you're worried, and your social media feed is obviously aligned with your thought pattern and the things that you click on. I want to encourage you, firstly, change your algorithms by interacting with different types of content. Spend more time looking at content or interacting with content on social media that shows you how to level up, that shows you how to work on yourself. There are social media accounts that are just focused on posting motivational quotes. Clicking on those types of images and interacting with that type of content will change your algorithm, because when you are interacting with, like, maybe looking at wedding dresses or looking at couple goals, hashtag this, hashtag that, that is all you're gonna see in your feed, and it's gonna further feed back into your mental state where you are now just focusing and meditating on the fact that everybody on Instagram is, cuffed and settled, and you are still unchosen, which is absolutely not true. It's just not your time. You're not within the season. And when the time is right, baby, you don't even have to try. It would just be so simple and so easy. Um, Take a break from social media if it's a little bit too much for you, because you have to get to the point where when you see someone announce their engagement, you're happy for them, or if you see somebody's wedding, you're just like, oh my goodness, I'm so happy for this person. I'm so happy that they're getting married. They absolutely deserve it. Radiate joy towards them. Um, and if you're struggling to do that, get off social media, take a break, search yourself, search your heart. This is going to be a series that we're going to be doing this upcoming month because I'm turning 30 as well. And I've had the privilege of having friends that are older than me, some of them much older than me, some of them a little bit older than me, that have just poured so much wisdom into me concerning this new decade that I'm entering into. And I would just love to share that. I would also love to share some of the insecurities that I may be having with turning 30. I would love to share just everything. And if you guys have any suggestions about what you would like me to cover about the 30s, the series is called Unpacking the 30s. Oh, it's going to be so much fun. I'm definitely going to enjoy it. If you have any bits of wisdom, pop me an email, comment in the comment section. Let's talk about it. Let's share our wisdom. Let's share our knowledge. Let's walk this journey together. And if you're in your 20s, then how much better is it that you get the privilege of seeing other women's walk and being encouraged? So beautiful. So, with that being said, I have a quote that I would love to read to you guys that I feel like personally it resonates so much with this new decade that I'm about to enter into, and just the way that I want these next 10 years to unravel. You are never behind on your own life. It all arrives in perfect timing if you don't give up on yourself. I'm 36 and I feel like I'm only getting started. I'm only just accessing the full breadth of the genius and gifts that live within me. The worst thing we can do is assume there is a time limit on our dreams. There isn't. There is always a chance to start anew. There is always inspiration to be found. There is always a will with a dream. Don't let this narrow minded world and society tell you there's a cut off to your own brilliance. There really isn't. At any given moment, you can choose that your time is right now. And that is from Jamie Veron. And you guys can find her on Instagram. She's an author. And I really hope that interacting with her content will give you new suggestions of accounts that you can follow, and that you will begin to take that step into fully, abundantly, absolutely wildly living out your life and not holding back just because the homie is not sitting next to you grabbing on your thigh or your booty during Netflix. Baby, there is so much more that you can experience. I love you, ladies. I wish you all of the best. And I want this to be a fruitful and impactful journey for all of us.